Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Isolation Play, the sports podcast show with four dudes just talk about whatever sports are actually going on right now. I'm joined by my three co-hosts, as always, Travis Hall, Michael Schlossberg, and Steven D'Agostino. Boys, say what's up.
Hey, all.
What's up, guys? What's up, everyone?
Well, it was the end of a 10-part epic documentary series that ESPN's put out, The Last Dance, featuring a whole bunch of never-before seen footage on Michael Jordan. And it was the end, and I feel like we could have wanted 10 more episodes or 100 more episodes, frankly, with no sports going on. Schlossberg, what did you think about the last episodes?
Yeah, the last couple episodes were not as good as the previous few. I mean, we all knew what was going to happen. We all remember 98, the push off of Byron Russell. The one change that I would say, in my opinion, is I really don't think he pushed off all that particularly much. After watching it a little bit closer on better quality, television now versus 1998, looked like Russell kind of like dived away. And as Bob Costas said, it was like being escorted by the maitre d' to a table at a restaurant. So that was kind of my biggest thought from there. My other thought about the documentary in a whole is about Scotty Burrell. Michael Jordan was so up this guy's rear end, wouldn't leave the guy alone for a pretty, unsung player on this 98 Bulls team. But it seemed like every piece of video was like him saying something to Scotty Burrell. It's like, who the hell cares about Scotty Burrell? Enough about him already.
Okay. All right. Travis, did he push off?
I think he did, but I mean, it's close. In that type of situation, the best player of the NBA isn't going to be called for an offensive foul there. So I think that's just Jordan knowing his stature, knowing the rules, and, maybe give him a little push. But for me, the biggest takeaway of the last two episodes is we got a little bit more detail on the flu game, which turns out wasn't the flu game, but the food poisoning game. And really just a ridiculous story for a couple of reasons. One, why is the best player in the NBA ordering pizza at 10 p.m. before an NBA Finals game? I mean, you think about today, guys like LeBron, all the top athletes have their own personal chefs that travel with them, that are cooking them healthy meals. So stuff like this doesn't happen. But second of all, how did the pizza place know this was for Michael Jordan? Apparently there were 5 delivery guys. Like, did he call in and they asked, what's your name? And he said, Michael Jordan. I mean, it's an insane story. He almost deserved to get food poisoning just with the lack of care he was showing before an NBA Finals game.
I was picturing like the Sopranos showing up at his front door, like guys in suits with cross-handed in front of each other, just waiting for him to slowly take the pizza. Maybe there's some cannolis involved. It just seemed like such a mafia hit job. Yeah. But oh my God, what a ridiculous story.
I'm surprised you didn't go more conspiracy theory on that, Travis. You've been the conspiracy theorist for this whole episodes, and there's a whole other theory that it wasn't the flu at all, that it was just a really bad hangover, that he had a little bit too much Hennessy, some people say, Kvassier, whatever you want to go with. Not in your wheelhouse. Yeah. You think it was pizza for sure?
100%. As soon as they said that 5 delivery guys showed up for that, they knew who it was for. This is pre-COVID. They're probably sneezing all over it. It's just, it was a recipe for disaster.
Steven, any other final takeaways from this 10-part series?
Yeah. Oh, goodness. First and foremost, I could listen to Reggie Miller talk forever. I mean, the segment off the top of episode 9 where they're going into the back and forth with Miller and Jordan. I mean, I just remember the Reggie Miller doc against him and the Knicks, with him and Starks, those wars. And I would take another Reggie Miller documentary tomorrow if I could. No offense to Inside the NBA, which is a great program. Can we all just agree that NBA on NBC is, and again, I know the Peacock writes my paychecks, but the greatest era of basketball. I mean, the music gets me hyped, even the graphics package. Bob Costas. I mean, what a phenomenal time for hoops. And I would love to see the NBA come back to NBC. And finally, bring back the NWO. I mean, that whole part of – I'm not a big pro wrestling guy, but Rodman coming out with Hulk Hogan and beating a guy up with a chair in between the finals games. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. I was just down a 90s rabbit hole watching those last couple of episodes, and it was just hit me right in the nostalgia. It was a good time, and I'm gonna miss seeing the series for sure.
Yeah, I think for me it was the roller coaster of emotions that you got taken on for each individual player on the team. Like, it wasn't just about my feelings about Jordan. I've said before on this show that I respect Jordan so much, but he was never my idol. Like, Kobe was always my idol, but it made me go on this love and hate relationship for so many. They made Pippen look terrible in one episode, then he was a savior in the next one. They made Rodman look like a crazy person, then he was a legitimate hard worker in the next one. Phil Jackson, Ron Hart. I mean, they took you through everybody, and they did such a good character development job for each individual player. The Steve Kerr story on the finals when he said, I guess I got to bail Michael out. I mean, obviously, like, I was cracking up at that. I mean, it was so well done. And those 30 for 30s are usually really, really well done anyway, but this one was probably their best. And I saw on Twitter, Steven, maybe you can correct me on this. I think the director or the producer of it said that they finished the last episode like hours before it finished. Like, the pressure that these guys must have been under to make sure it was perfect for this big of an audience must have been insane.
I did see that, but that doesn't surprise me because they moved the release date up, and I'm sure once the reception, was so great for the first 8 parts, they probably wanted to make sure that there was little nuances that were all in check. The other thing I'm really curious about is I know Jordan actually had a pretty large hand in the creation process. I wonder how much he was kind of reading feedback or had thoughts in the middle of it. And you kind of wonder, maybe did Jordan see something or say something that required them to go back and make last minute edits? I mean, because obviously working in TV, Budish, we always get that, whether it's talent or an EP or somebody having to go back and make changes. And I would love to hear those stories from behind the scenes, but we'll obviously never know. But that doesn't surprise me.
Well, we finally had the return of sports, and if I'm going to start us off here as the resident soccer expert, unless we're talking about 7th and 8th grade soccer, then I'd go to Schlossberg. I would defer to him. But for now, for the professional world of European football, I'll take it that the Bundesliga, the German league, returned to action with no fans in the stadiums, but they were allowed. They had to keep a safe distance on the sidelines when they weren't on the pitch, and you weren't really supposed to tackle your players unless you absolutely had to. But all the big teams did come back. Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, a lot of good action was there, and kind of went off pretty easily. And I give the German league a lot of credit. They were one of the last leagues to stop playing, and they were the first league to come back. And it seemed like everything went okay. That has opened the door for a lot of other leagues to come back. The Premier League obviously being probably the most notable one to say, yeah, we are allowing our teams to start practicing this week, and they are aiming for a late June return. But a lot of leagues around the European football world are still saying, nope, we're done. We're killing it. The Scottish League stopped and crowned their champion, and a couple other ones have already done that. But it was nice to see some football, or as we call it here, soccer, come back, and I watched a little bit of it. It was good. It was just weird to see a goal celebration with no one in attendance to celebrate with them. But, at least that's something for sport to look forward to.
The only thing I know about Bundesliga, sorry to cut you off here. I'm a lifelong Hoffenheim fan as of last fall. Yeah. When I was at Oktoberfest, they beat Bayern Munich. So I got my blue jersey coming in the mail. I don't really know much about them other than they had a win early this year. So now I'm a huge Hoffenheim fan. So watch your back.
Okay, not a good one to be a fan of in the German league, but still, it's a good thing to, it's good that you have a rooting interest. I can tell you that the German league is comprised of 2 teams and a bunch of other teams that no one really cares about. It's Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. They steal everybody's good talent. Like, there's other good teams there are other teams that have good players, and they're immediately going to go to those 2 teams. But hey, Steven, that's what we love about you. You stick with your teams no matter how good or bad they are, and I commend you for that one. So go Hoffenheim, obviously. I don't have a team in the German league. I just had fun watching soccer, finally. But we did have the upcoming return of golf, and I'm going to toss it to Travis and Steven about that. What are you guys thinking? What are you looking forward to about it this coming weekend?
Yeah, the match part 2, the return of side sauce. This time we got 2 NFL QBs joining. We got Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning taking on Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. Don't know how serious Brady's taking it. Reports are today he's holding workouts with his Buccaneers teammates, so it's not really working on a short game. But I'm excited. I think we all watched the first iteration of the match and wasn't too great, but I like the addition of Manning and Brady. I was just looking it up. Manning's an 8 handicap. Brady's a 6 handicap. So both pretty good players. And, it'll be interesting to see who wins. Phil won it in overtime last year. Steven, who do you think is going to take it this year?
It's tough for me to pick against Tiger right now, but I mean, not even talk about that. But we had golf this past weekend with the Skins game on Golf Channel, which was actually a lot of fun to watch. We had Rory and DJ against Matt Wolf and Ricky Fowler, the Oklahoma State Cowboys there. A ton of fun, and I hope we just see more of the same. You know, seeing even something as simple as seeing the guys out in shorts, carrying their own bags, making little side bets, and talking smack. I thought that was a really good primer for the match part two. It's something you rarely get in golf. Golf's so top button. So seeing these guys kind of play these skins games and little side bet games, and you know, I loved. You know, I think they were playing closest to the pinhole, and DJ stuffed it. Was walking off the tee box, forgot he didn't have a caddy and had to get his own bag. So it's just stuff as golf fans you don't see very often. You know, let alone the fact we're starved for sports. But yeah, I hope we get something similar to what we saw with the Skins game. It was a blast. Schloss, I know you probably watched the Skins game. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I took in a little bit of it. I like what you just mentioned about how they're carrying the bags, because here's the thing. Bad golfers like myself and probably the rest of us, or I know Travis is pretty good, you know, we can't really carry our bags because we got to carry so many balls with us because we lose so many while they're playing. So that was kind of cool to see them, you know, carrying a nice brand new little carry bag as opposed to walking around with a big cart bag like I'd have to walk around with. And it's just cool to watch these guys in a kind of peaceful, serene environment without all these fans. There's not even a lot of trees on that course. And that course apparently has not really been seen very much by a lot of people, even though, you know, down in South Florida, I could almost throw a baseball from my parents' house and hit it to that course. So it was nice to kind of see a new course right on the ocean and see the guys out there playing.
My bag's usually weighed down with a 6-pack of beer in the cooler pouch. That doesn't help my case much for losing balls, but yeah, I feel you on that.
Schlossberg, I skipped over it unintentionally in this, and I'm willing to admit when I make a mistake in our rundown here. But going back to talking about a little bit about the Last Dance and just player legacies, you have a little rant for me on what I want to know about players in general.
Yeah, well, it's obviously just not for you because it's for the fans out there who are watching. Now, to my rant. They ended the Last Dance, and they didn't even mention Jordan being on the Wizards. And obviously that is because Jordan had a lot of editorial control within this documentary. And people forget about Jordan being on the Wizards, where he scored 20 points a game. He was still a competent NBA player, but it didn't really fit the narrative that he was going after. So it just leads me to think, do guys need to stay with one team for their entire career for it to, you know, positively impact their legacy? So we see Tom Brady, we mentioned him. He's going to go down and play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think that this affects his legacy even one bit. I don't care if he goes 10 touchdowns, 23 interceptions next year and says, screw this, I'm done. You know, because we're always going to think about Tom Brady going down the field and winning Super Bowls or even losing Super Bowls against the Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not going to affect it at all. Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, guys who had success in other spots. So especially in the NFL, I just don't think it matters. I think there comes a time where these teams need to move on and do what's in the best position for their franchise, especially when you're talking about the quarterback. We don't think about it with Michael Jordan on basketball. I don't think about it with Patrick Ewing at all. His legacy is as a New York Knick, not as a Seattle Sonic, not as an Orlando Magic. They're just irrelevant. These are guys who just want to continue to play. Sometimes they get traded. It's totally not their fault, especially in those spots. So when you're viewing these successful, high-level, Hall of Fame type athletes, think about them in their primary teams with their primary coaches and what they did best, as opposed to focus and saying, oh, he didn't stay with one team for one time. Because you know what? If you look at your career, you're probably not staying with one spot the entire time. You have different needs, family needs, professional needs. So give him a break. Brett Favre is a guy who bounced all around at the end of his career with the Vikings and the Jets. So at the end of the day, just think about these guys and what they did best and which team they did it best. And don't give them such a hard time for going to play in new spots.
Just for you, Schloss, next episode, I'm busting out my Patrick Ewing Orlando Magic jersey. One of the great Orlando Magic players. Great Orlando Magic player. No, I agree with you on that. That's pretty solid. I mean, I think it's more of a matter of how well you do overall in your career and your body of work. You know, you have guys like Dwight Howard, who certainly tried to chase the stardom a la like a Shaquille O'Neal, and then ultimately ruined his career and kind of spiraled out of control. But that could have happened in Orlando. That could have happened anywhere. I think as long as you're performing at a high level, it doesn't matter what jersey you're wearing. It's not going to really ruin your legacy. People are still going to enjoy wherever you're at.
I agree for the most part. I think, I mean, like obviously, and I hate, I mean, I love it, but I hate bringing it back to the teams that I just know the most. But like, I remember Shaq as a Laker because that's where he was the best. But he still went on and won titles with Miami, and he still played for Boston after that. And he played for Phoenix, and he did. But I remember him as a Laker. However, and I'm just going to say however, because I do agree with you for the most part, there is a special place reserved for the people who are most loyal to their teams, like Kobe Bryant. I hate to bring it up, but he stayed with the Lakers for all 20 years. Now, he did threaten to leave at one point, and he saw immediately how bad that backfired. He threatened to go to Travis's Clippers for a little bit over there, and yeah, we're happy that didn't happen. But he stayed he stayed a Laker for his whole career, and for me, that cements his legacy as an all-time great besides what he did. But you're right, it's so rare in today's sports for anyone to just stay, whether it's chasing a ring or chasing money or better deals or family reasons or going back home. I get it. It's just one of those things. You just can't expect a team or a player to stay there for their whole career. It's just not feasible anymore.
Yeah, I think the difference is today, especially looking at just the Tom Brady case, although it would be great for him to just retire and have been a Patriot his whole career, it's hard to turn down a team that's going to give you a 2-year, $60 million deal. I mean, these guys are human, and that's a lot of money that gets thrown around to these athletes these days. So, you know, if an athlete thinks he's still got a couple more years left, although it's a great story to say you played for only one team your entire career, if that team's willing to move on, and I think, you know, as all of us being more kind of team loyal than player loyal fans, we understand that teams have to make those decisions, and we're generally in favor of it because it helps them rebuild and, you know, get back to prominence. But from the player's perspective, it's hard to turn down that type of money, and so you can't really fault them. And you know, over time, I think we'll forget that Tom Brady went to the Bucs, just like we have with all these other athletes you guys talked about, and that's just what it is.
At the end of the day, it's a business. It's all a business, and there is no such thing as loyalty when you don't have to, because it's all about the bottom dollar for teams and for players. And I get it. You know, that's why we root for teams. We don't root for players because you want to win. But that doesn't mean that you can't be upset when your favorite player gets traded or leaves. And that's all normal being a fan. For all of us, we can all claim that we've all been in a misery pit with one of our teams at least, so we all know that feeling one way or the other. So I think good ranch loss. I agree with you for the most part. I think it's a good one.
Just one more note that none of us brought up, LeBron James. I think he's the only guy who, frankly, transcends all the teams. I just think of him as LeBron. I don't think of LeBron as a Cavalier, a Heat, or obviously not a Laker. He's just LeBron.
Now, he did catch a lot of flack for how he left, though. If we remember back on the decision, it was one of the worst PR moves I think I've ever seen. It just didn't play out the way that he wanted to. I know he was doing it for the Boys and Girls Club, but it just backfired so hard. It was almost better. And Durant got a lot of flack when he posted the article in, what was it, The Athletic or somewhere, that his decision to leave. You know what I mean? Like, just go. Just go to a new team and sign a contract. We get it. Like, all these drawn out media and I get it, it's part of the media world that we live in today, but it would just almost be easier if a guy was just like, you know what, I have to leave, I'm making my decision, this is where I'm going. Not a 2-hour TV special about where things are going to go. It just doesn't make any sense. Well, Travis, the NFL schedule's come out. We know about that pretty well and good, but I think you got a chance to redeem yourself here with maybe some gambling tips.
Yeah, I haven't been doing too well so far. Sorry about the NFL draft, and I just checked my Doosan Bears are in 4th, but everybody knows they are a second half team. Hopefully going to try to win the viewers some money on some NFL over and unders, and just want to focus on our 4 teams. I'll give my pick and then want to get your guys' take on what you think. So starting with Steven's Jags, their over and under right now is 5.5. They won 6 last year. Pretty quiet, you know, not too great of an offseason for the Jags. The big change is now Gardner Minshew is the guy. Last year, he was just some no-name 6th-round pick with an awesome mustache. But the Jags have made him their franchise guy, assuming they don't get Cam Newton. But, you know, look at the AFC South. The Texans have obviously gotten worse. The Titans, you know, they had a good year. It's hard to say with Tannehill if that was just a fluke or if he's going to continue that. So I don't know. I kind of like the overs of 5.5. I don't think they're any worse. But what do you think, Steven?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Jags is playing in that division, it's always a crapshoot. I mean, the Jags are always a total dumpster fire, but so is that division for the most part. The Texans have had a really, really bad offseason. I have a really hard time putting faith in Tannehill. And yeah, I mean, you have an old Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis. So, I mean, it could easily be over 6. I think that's a pretty solid pick. I'm just doubtful. I've been hurt so many times from the Jags, so I don't know if I'm putting money on it. But I think 6 is taking the over is a pretty solid bet there for
All
the
right.
old Swagwars.
We'll classify it as a stay away for now. But moving on to Schloss's Giants, they're over and under 6.5. They won 4 games last year. Danny Jones, rookie year. Saquon missed 3 games. You got to imagine they're going to be better, especially in Jones' second year. But that NFC East is tough with the Cowboys and the Eagles both getting better. So it's hard to go over 6.5. I like the unders. What are you thinking, Schloss?
I hate to agree with you, because I love the Giants. But I look at this schedule, and I only see 2 wins on there. I mean, maybe they can split with the Redskins, who are just another absolutely awful team. And maybe they can beat the Bengals or the Browns, depending on how Baker Mayfield's playing. The Giants have been bad against the Cowboys and the Eagles in recent years. And I've said this before. I would chop my kidney right out of my body to beat the Eagles on a Sunday afternoon at Lincoln Financial or at Giant Stadium. And the Giants they don't beat the Eagles anymore. Pathetic. So I only see 2 wins on this schedule. I don't see how you get over 6.5. I like what I saw out of Danny Jones last year. Saquon's got to stay healthy. I think he's got all the talent in the world, but I don't see them getting over that 6.5.
Yeah, it's still a rebuild for them, but you can be happy in the pieces they've been drafting. Budish, your Rams their over and under right now is 9, which is the exact number of games they won last year. But to kind of go over their offseason, they've lost Gurley, Cooks, Matthews, Weddle, Fowler, and Littleton, and used their top 2 picks to add, really just to replace Gurley and Cooks, adding a backup running back and a third wide receiver. NFC West is stacked with the Niners and the Seahawks, and the Cardinals now getting better with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't know how they get over 9. I think this is a lock for unders. What do you think?
I'm a risk taker, Travis. I've always been that way. And I got to tell you, I think it's a clear bet to take the over. And I'm going to tell you why.
Oh.
Let me finish. Yeah. The Rams might be 4th best in that division right now. It might be. But they've proven that they know how to draft well. And I know that we just made fun of them for drafting a replacement and a third string wide receiver, basically. But I'm telling you that we didn't think Cooper Kupp was going to be anything, and Jared Goff is a good system quarterback as long as Sean McVay can learn how to regain his confidence and trick some people again. Because last year he was exposed, and it really showed. And Goff is not an elite quarterback, but he's getting paid like one, so we might as well have some faith that he can turn it around and try to do something again. And they still have the best defensive player and probably the best player in the league on their team. If they can and they have a new defensive coordinator in there, so if they can learn a new scheme and kind of come together as a team, they might get now. I don't want to ever say anything's an easy win because I don't want to say that because Schlossberg will yell at me again. So here's my thinking. They got 3 games starting off the season. Then they start with Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. Then they're at Philadelphia and they're at Buffalo, I think. Yeah. If they can win those 3, they can get a little momentum going. Now, the Eagles are going to be tough on the road, but I really think if they start 3-0, I think they're going to win 10, 11 games this year. The hardest thing is going to be they've got 2 tough games on the road in their own division. I mean, Seattle, they lost last year on a heartbreaking field goal, and obviously it didn't work out very well with the Niners. But I don't know. I just want to take the risk and believe in my team again, so I'm going to take the over and be scared the whole season. What about you, Travis, with your San Diego Chargers?
Yeah, well, they're the LA Chargers for starters, but second of all,
Yeah. Did I say San Diego? I'll never think of them as the LA team since the Chargers were second.
Honestly, that still happens even on broadcast 3 years after the fact that they've moved. But anyway, they're over and under 7.5. They won 5 games last year, but they do have a really easy schedule. That's what happens when you finish in last in the division last year. But a lot of their problems stem from injuries, which always seems to hurt the Chargers, and from bad quarterback play from Phillip Rivers, who's now moved on to the Colts. If this team stays healthy, whether it's Taylor or Herbert under center, I like them as the over at 7.5. I think they're the second best team in the AFC West after the Chiefs. So, I mean, again, with the Chargers, it always comes down to injuries, but I like the overs a lot there. So I think just to kind of sum it up, the picks here, we're going under the Jags. over the Jags at 5.5. We're going under the Giants at 6.5. We split on the Rams, but if you're smart, you'll go under the 9, and we'll go over the Chargers 7.5.
Travis, I'll put you on the spot. Which one of our teams wins the most games this year?
Not to sound like a homer, because that's your corner. I don't want to step on that, but I like the Chargers. Again, they're a super talented roster. If they can just get competent quarterback play out of either Taylor or Herbert, I think 9-10 wins isn't unrealistic.
Well, now let's get to some social media from our social media wizard, Steven. What you got for me this week?
I got a kind of fun video, a little cringy video, if you will, from a gender reveal party. As men, I think we all have maybe mixed feelings about gender reveal parties. This one might be one of my favorites. Let's take a look from our esteemed producer, Harold. Can we roll that video, please? A strikeout at your own gender reveal party. I don't know if there's a fate worse than death, but that's pretty close. Schloss, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to paint you a picture here from a gender reveal party. I want to put you in that similar position. Let's say it's a 3-1 count. The missus has been missing the outside corner of the plate all afternoon. 3-1. Are you taking any pitches and forcing the missus to throw to you at your own gender reveal party?
A 3-1 count. I mean, it's got to be right down the middle. So it's a tricky spot there. I mean, if you're ready to go up there hacking like you're Vladimir Guerrero, Travis's boy, and you're going to hit a ball out of the dirt, then yeah, go up hacking. But if you're more of like a Joey Votto, you're taking all the way because you're a 440 on base percentage guy for a reason.
If my wife throws me any junk in the dirt, I know it's on her. She's got to give me my pitch, and then I'm swinging at it. Travis, over to you now. We're in the small ball era now. There's no shame in just advancing the runners. What is more acceptable, striking out at your own gender reveal party or laying down a bunt? Your thoughts?
I'm all about the sack bunt, move that runner over, and let's wait for baby number 2 before we find out.
All right, British. All right, sorry, go ahead, Travis.
I was going to say, I think it's a great idea, but, maybe consider the athletic abilities of the dad before you get that ready to go.
British, you're a married man. I'm sure the discussion of gender reveal parties has come up at some point in your recent memory. If you had to pick a gender reveal party, what have you guys cooked up? I mean, don't lie to me. I know you got something on deck here.
The funny thing is, I've joked about this exact thing with my beautiful wife, Megan, that I said that we couldn't ever do something like that because, A, not to discredit her, she's extremely athletic and beautifully fit, and I love her to death, but she'd throw that ball through the window. There'd be no chance of me hacking at it because there'd be no way I could get the bat even close to it because it'd be so far over my head. So we wouldn't do that. And number 2, I consider myself a pretty athletic guy, got some decent game in me, but I'm still scared that I'd be swinging and missing like that guy did. So, yeah, we've talked about it. The biggest grand gesture that I wanted to do for my wife as a man who loves romantic gestures, I said to my wife, she's a big Disney fan. I think it'd be really funny to go down Splash Mountain and pay them to just dye the water pink or blue and just see what happens when we hit the water. That'd be a pretty expensive one. I don't know.
You got Splash Mountain money, Bootish?
Yeah, no, I don't. But I can maybe try and get a late birthday gift from her father, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, I think the easiest one would be that we're both – she loves these shoes called Teaks, and I love Nike SBs. I'm sure there's got to be something funny to do with a sneaker or something to do. But, yeah, I don't know. She seems to like the confetti cannon one whenever that happens. That might be the easiest thing. But I feel like that's not the Bootish way. We got to go bigger than that. I feel like we got to do something crazy. So maybe if you guys can think of something good, send it my way, and maybe we'll knock it out one of these days.
You can do your 25 push-ups, and if you actually get to the end, you get to find out.
My dad called me out for that. He's like, you can't do 25 push-ups. I'm like, yes, I can, dear. Let's get some closing thoughts. Steven, what do you got for us?
Like I said, I got my the Samsung Lions shirt still in the mail. My Hoffenheim kit is coming in. Sports are coming back. Exciting time. Go blue. And, looking forward to the next time, boys.
Nice. Schlossberg?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the MLB and possibly them coming back. I don't want to hear it from either side. I'm not interested in anything that these players have to say, not interested in anything these owners have to say. Go out there, get it done, get baseball on the field on July 4th. You'll make some money. Owners, you won't lose as much as you would So I'm sick and tired of airing it out in the public. Get a deal done. Let me know when there's baseball to watch so I can watch my Yankees take the field and not lose seasons in Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez's prime and Gleyber Torres' prime, because then they'll become free agents and they probably won't be able to keep all of them.
Nice. Travis?
Yeah, and if you can't wait for the Yankees, my Doosan Bears are at the NC Dino tonight. Only 4 games back of Steven's Samsung Lions. Heartbreaking loss last night. They lost 5-4 in extras, but I think they're starting to figure it out.
Nice. I also just want to take my time to say that the Isolation podcast play documentary about all 4 of our backstories will be coming out next year. A lot of dark skeletons in that Schlossberg closet to bring.
Why just me? Why am I the one being picked on?
Well, because Travis is a lawyer, we can't really get into his legal issues. Steven, I don't want to get in with because I work with him right now, and you're just the furthest away from me, so I don't have any problem talking about you badly. But no, that was a lot of fun, guys. This is another enjoyable episode. Can't wait for the next one. And for everyone at Isolation Podcast, we say thanks for watching. See you later.